What's up, everybody? It's Scotty with Evil Castrigal, and I got a little bit of an interesting video today for the channel. As you know, if you keep up with my content, pretty heavy mountain biker. I have been for the last year, I guess the last 3 or so years. I've really gotten heavily into it, but I've been kind of on and off since about 2016, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. I guess actually even earlier than that, maybe 2015, when I purchased the bike behind me here. So this is a video going over my first mountain bike. I had the chance to pick this thing back up. I'm going to list it for sale for a buddy. It was his first mountain bike. It was actually another one of my friend's first mountain bikes, so it's kind of been through the buddy list. But let's check it out, and I'll talk about it, and I'll give you my thoughts on Motobecane bicycles. All right, let's get into it. So what we are looking at here is, I'm going to guess, a 2015 Motobecane Fantom 29. This is actually my first mountain bike. I bought this exact bicycle. This is not like another of the same. This is actually the bike that I bought, and I'm going to guess 2015 when I got back into cycling after an injury. Rode it a couple times. I was a bigger boy then, and decided I wasn't really into it. It was too much of an exercise for me back then. So I bought the bike in 2015, I think. Rode it for maybe 3 months, and then, I don't know, just kind of fell out of it. I was not ready to be in shape quite yet. So the bike sat in my shed for probably, I don't know, I'm going to say a year. And then I tore my Achilles tendon. So I was off for about 8 months, didn't do anything. Gained a little more weight, and then I came back from that and immediately tore my ACL on a dirt bike. So both of those were on dirt bikes. So Achilles tendon injury, kind of like, I don't know if you watch Supercross, but kind of like Eli Tomac, almost the exact same injury, where just on a jump face, popped out of nowhere. Crazy story for another time. But anyway, so I was really off for a long time, and that recovery from the ACL is what kind of spawned me to get back into shape, and I started mountain biking again. And I pulled this thing out of the shed, and the rest is history. I started riding it again, got it back up in working order, and within about 2 months I was ready for something bigger, and I upgraded to a full suspension from this thing. I was just riding it too hard. I started riding with my dad and his friends, and I was trying to keep up, and was rapidly losing weight, and I fell in love with mountain biking, and this is the bike that did it. It just took about 3 years to really settle. But again, this is a Motobecane Fantom 29. I think I purchased this bike for $450 in 2015. You know, I think now this is probably, realistically, is probably, I don't know, I'd have to look on their website to see how much these things cost now, but they're more than that. So this bike came stock with the kind of standard SR Sun Tour coil grease fork there, nothing special, XCT. It is a 29er. And it's got a 3x7 drivetrain, nothing special. A Shimano, I believe it's an X4. Yeah, Shimano X4, 3x7 drivetrain. Good brakes, actually, for, believe it or not. These are just Tektro Dracos is what they called them. But these are actually really good. They always worked really well. Never had a problem with those. And this was a good bike to get you into mountain biking. And that's what I've told the last two friends of mine that have purchased it from each other. Well, one from me and then the other one from the other. So it's made the rounds. And unfortunately, I don't have another friend that I can sell this thing to. So it's going to go on the market. But it's a great bicycle to start out on and learn how to mountain bike. So let's get into what I think about Motobecane bikes in general. What my experience was like when I bought this thing. Of course, that was several years ago. Still a good looking bike though. You can tell this thing's been through 3 owners, and it has been ridden, and it's held up great. So let's talk about it. So yeah, Motobecane bikes in general, you know, if you've been watching this channel, I don't really ride budget bicycles. I have a friend that owns a bike shop, so I ride boutique brands for the most part. What my friend over at Sean at M+1 Bikes carries. But in another life, before I had a friend that owned a bike shop, I was on a tight budget. Of course, I always am on a tight budget, but even back then, I I was just getting into the sport and I didn't know what to spend. And I found bikesdirect.com. It was a weird looking little website, very outdated, but I decided to trust it because the prices were right and there wasn't much information out there on Motobecane bikes or Bikes Direct, but I took a risk. I had one of their road bikes before, several years before that, so I kind of already knew the site was legit. So I went ahead and bought the mountain bike we've been looking at, Fantom 29. Got here in like less than a week, if I remember right. This has been a long time ago, obviously, but it got here really quick, and it was easy to put together, and it's lasted. This is a beginner mountain bike, really, the way it's set up now. So once you start progressing and your speed starts picking up and you start riding harder, you are going to start testing the limits of these bicycles. But I think if you're on a budget and you find a good price on their website on a full suspension, it might be worth the risk. The geometry is a little behind the times, but again, if you're on a budget, it might be something that you look at. So in closing, I loved this bike behind me. It suited me well, and it suited two of my friends well, and it's still ready to go. There are some things you could do to make it a really good bike. Let's look at that. I guess that's kind of a closing of the video. Let's look at what you could do to make what is now, I guess, almost a 9-year-old bicycle fresh and good. All right, let's get into that. So the first thing I think you could upgrade would be the fork, obviously. For a bike with a straight steer tube, I wouldn't spend a bunch of crazy money on anything. I would just maybe get you a little air fork off Amazon. You can get them for anywhere from 80 to 140 bucks, I think, and they work pretty good. I've had experience with them in the past on the channel. I've used them on bikes. So that would be number one, is the fork. Second, tires. These tires are very flimsy. Believe it or not, these are the stock tires. So these tires have been on this bike through 3 owners. And it's time. They're really soft. There's almost no sidewall. That's a huge upgrade that I think you could do to this bike. Third, go to a 1x drivetrain. We've had experience with those on the channel too. You can get something really affordable on Amazon or the used market and make this bike really, really good. As a hardtail, the frame is big, so be wary of that. I'm 5'10" with a 29-inch inseam, and this bike in a large is pretty tall for me. Another thing, I would put a short stem on it. Obviously, that stem is humongous and outdated. So those are really the only 4 things you need to do to make this bike a really capable trail bike. All right, let's close out this video. I'll stop rambling. So yeah, cool little story. My first mountain bike. I was kind of happy to take it home and get a look at it. I've been riding it around the yard. Part of me just kind of wants to buy it because it was a big part of my life. I lost 60 pounds almost mountain biking. So that's the bike that started it all right there. It kind of got me on my health journey, I guess you could say. I wish I would have been riding mountain bikes when I was actually racing motocross, because I'm in a lot better shape now. Cardio wise, still a little big, just a bit of a beefy boy, but cardio really helps with the motocross. I can tell you that just from experience now, having gotten back into it. It's very beneficial. So anyway, cool story with my first mountain bike. So it's it's for sale. You can message me below for details or whatever if you want it. This is not a sales channel, but probably the way mountain bike market is, it might not even be available by the time you see this. But it's a cool bike, and I encourage you to check out Bikes Direct if you're really on a budget. Although there are other options now on the used market and some other websites that offer bikes that are a little more updated, I would say. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. It's been Scotty with Evil Castrigal. I'll check you later.